you get people from all over the world in here. I've had people from Moscow, Tokyo, Japan, Australia, England, France, everywhere. And they come in, they're fascinated by it. The European history is significantly different than it is here. So what they see in terms of the construction and the way the house is decorated is different. This house is actually from the Edwardian time frame, but a lot of the furnishings are Victorian, because we had just come out of the Victorian era. The holidays are particularly popular here. People can come up with their families and they can rent 2 or 3 spaces, and there's always something for the kids to do while the rest of the family cooks, and they just leave and go home. Today I've had over 30 people in here, between the noon and 5, which is a pretty healthy bunch for the winter months. I've had days when I've had as many as 70 people through here. The house, the construction began approximately 1897, and it was completed, I believe, in 1902, but the fort was not commissioned until 1904. When the house was built, it was built with all of the light fixtures, switches, receptacles, and whatnot, in anticipation of the power plant being constructed and going online. And that came online in 1907. So between 1904 and 1907, they did use oil lamps because that was all that was available at the time. In 1953, the fort was decommissioned, and the state bought a lower portion of this fort and turned this into a youth diagnostic center. The staff lived in all of the housing, and the children were housed in the barracks. In 1970, when the diagnostic center was moved, the state opted to turn this into a traditional state park, but they found out that the demolition was cost prohibitive. There's approximately 1,130,000 tons of concrete up on the hill, and that is where the expense in the demo came in. So they had to rethink their plans, and what they opted to do was to freshen up the other housing, modernize the kitchens and the bathrooms to some degree, and then turn those into vacation rentals. And then, with the help of the Heritage Foundation, they decided to restore this house. Between 1970 and 1980, it was just an ongoing project of love. All the labor was volunteer. The furnishings are on loan from the state and from the Jefferson County Historical Society, because the commanding officers would have taken their own furniture with them. We're still learning about the time when everybody was here, because the records are actually kind of sparse. One of the ways that we know who was here at any given time is by the menus for the holiday meals. It tells who was actually attending the meal, the dinners. We know that during either World War II or the Korean War, the manning went up to about, I think, 700. But then it went down to a caretaker status, and at that point they decided to decommission it. This has always been a favorite building of mine. I have been coming up here since the early 90s. This house has been a very popular draw because the people that come to the fort find it very interesting to see what we as Americans would call history, even though it's a fairly young history. The Fort Flagler, Casey, and Worden were built because the Navy decided to build Port Orchard Shipyard, and they decided that that needed to be protected, and that ultimately became the Bremerton Shipyard.